Hi everyone, it's Tuesday, July the 19th, and we're coming to the end of Morality and Ethics. I just want to take a few minutes just to kind of put things into perspective in terms of this module and what it means for us as Catholic Christians, especially as Catholic educators. So first of all, I'm just going to reiterate, we were created with free will. That means we are decision makers. That's one of the primary factors in terms of our identity as human beings. And so it is our hope that our decision-making process is rooted in Catholic morality, and as Catholic educators, this is our responsibility, is to help our students be formed in Catholic teachings, in Catholic morality. And that's pretty much what what we signed up for, what we are being paid to do. And it's difficult because a lot of people have issues with the Catholic Church in terms of their own life and some of the decisions they make, and might not understand why the Church said certain things, and they might feel alienated or distanced from the Church. So I'm hoping that what I say in these posts today will help you put that into perspective and understand why we have a responsibility as Catholic teachers to present this to our students and help them be formed in this, okay? So I'm going to take it for a really simple example to show you really how from something so simple, morality can be very complex. So first of all, morality and ethics within our Catholic identity is like the operating system, right? I talked about the Bible being our owner's manual. So Catholic ethics and morality is the heart of who we are. It makes us, makes us make decisions pretty much, in terms of how our day is going to unfold. So I'm going to take something as simple as pressing the snooze button in the morning, because we make decisions from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, okay? So in the morning, we've all done this, we've pressed the snooze button. For some of us, it's a regular thing. You just set your alarm earlier and you just press it a few times to give you the illusion that you're getting more time, or you just need that slow start or whatever. But sometimes when we press that snooze button one too many times, it could have a dominoes effect. So thanks to Cindy for sharing that lesson on sin and dominoes. I really like that. So I'm going to use that in what I'm trying to explain to you guys today. So if you live alone, the snooze button effect might not have a great impact for you within your house. But if you live with people, if you have family, if you have children, and you're running late and you're short with them and you don't have time to attend to their needs, and you're going to set off everybody else's day in a negative way, and the domino effects begins. You leave the house. If you're short on time to get to work, this is where things start to get a little complicated and the dominoes start to roll. Okay? You're driving, everyone does this, we're coming to traffic lights, they're turning yellow. Most of us make that decision. If we're in a hurry, we go through, unfortunately. We're not supposed to, but we do. And if we're not in so much of a hurry, we'll take the caution and we'll brake and we'll stop. But if we're already late for work and we're going through that intersection and we are just, our mind is racing, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late, I got this to do, that to do, why did I do that? And you're not getting even a good perspective on the intersection as you're making that decision to go through the yellow light. Hopefully you're lucky, you go through, no problem, and you make it to work. But that particular moment, different things can happen. The dominoes can fall in different ways. You could have an accident. Hopefully something minor, fender bender, still aggravating, time, cost, all that stuff. Someone could get hurt. Hopefully they'll recover. Someone could get injured or paralyzed. It could be you, the other person. Someone could die. I love the commercials that are on now about texting and driving, and just seems pretty innocent. Young man is driving, an adolescent. The his phone goes off on his seat. He takes a second just to look to see who texted him, and the airbag goes off. And the next moment, he's in the hospital in a wheelchair, and he's a quadriplegic. That's how quickly it is, and those commercials are really bang on, they're effective. But that's where our church is trying to help us not get into that chair. To help us, even under the most stressful times, if we're formed in terms of our church's teachings, that even in those tense moments, even when you have a split second to make a decision, that you are going to make a decision that is going to protect the dignity of human life. And that's why the church's teachings sometimes are really difficult, because we don't understand that bigger picture sometimes. We're just thinking about ourselves and our own comfort in our own life, and the church is looking at the bigger picture. So let's take this into another realm. Let's go back into the car for a second. When we're driving, I just love the whole idea of the school zone, right? If we know it's a school zone, we should slow down, because we know there's children that can run out on the road. But that's not enough for us as human beings, right? because we're in a hurry. We got our own stuff to do. We just want to race down those neighborhoods. It doesn't matter who's there. So they put up, the 40 or or 30 even, the slower zones. There's a potential of radar that there might be a police officer there, especially in September when school first starts, right? So that might slow us down. But some of us will take that risk and think, well, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go down anyways and not mind the speed limit. So that ticket is not enough for some people. So now what they've started to do is put the speed bumps into the roads. So if your own conscience doesn't tell you to slow down because it's a school zone, that there's kids that might potentially get hurt, and if the speed limit and the potential of a speeding ticket isn't enough for your formation of conscience, then maybe damaging the underneath of your car as you drive through these speed bumps might stop you and help you make that moral choice. I'm being very sarcastic, right? So this is where we are with society. We're very much, looking within our own life, our own needs. And so the church needs to help us look out towards everyone else. So in a sense, the church is those big speed bumps in the road, helping us to slow down a minute, helping us to kind of look around our surroundings and say, what is the effect of our decision? Hopefully it's not just the damage of our car. Hopefully it's to understand the greater picture, that this is a school zone, that there's the precious lives there of young children, who are at a younger age, who might not be making good decisions, who might just run out into the road, right? So hopefully that kind of helps you in terms of that. There is, I want to root this also in terms of, our own sexuality, because I think this is a huge topic, especially for Catholic educators, because we have a responsibility to teach our kids that there are choices about their sexuality. And this is where a lot of us fall short as Catholic educators. And I have a huge issue with this. And I actually did a whole day retreat with my staff on, Catholic Morality 101, what is our responsibility as Catholic educators. And despite our own experience within the church, and this is where I found when I worked with young teachers in OISE and other pre-service courses and some of the religious ed courses, I found people had their own issues about Catholic teachings on sexuality, and that kind of stopped them from fully embracing the church and their understanding of the church, and then being able to present it to our kids. Our kids have the right to learn that there are other options in terms of their sexuality. The kids have a right to understand why the church has these teachings, and we have the responsibility to teach them regardless of what subject we teach. I know it doesn't fall into all our subject areas, but it may fall into, an after-school activity where you're just sitting around chatting with your kids and the topic might come up. It might happen when you're coaching. Like, these conversations could happen anywhere, and you have to be able to present the church's perspective. And it's hard for us to present the church's perspective because the majority of adults stop their education in terms of Catholic, the Catholic Church and scripture and teachings at grade 8 or whenever the confirmation is. For a lot of Catholic adults, the last time they were formally educated in church teaching was as a young child themselves, and they haven't gone beyond. And that's the beauty of Catholic education, because we now can go on and start to understand as adults in our society what impact the church has. I hope that kind of makes sense. So looking at sexuality, sexuality is one of the greatest gifts that God gave us, along with our free will. God created us in many different capacities that we should be embracing and seeing the sacredness of it. Our physicality, we're physical. We are spiritual. We're born with spirituality. We are intellectual. We are emotional. These are all the gifts that God created us with, and God created us as sexual beings. And our sexuality is beautiful and sacred. And unfortunately, throughout the years, with kind of a sense of, I don't even know how to place this, but we've made sex into something that is bad. We don't want to talk about it. And oh my gosh, But it's something that we need to embrace in a positive way. And especially now in this day and age, because our kids are oversexed. Everything is rooted in sexuality, but in an unhealthy sexuality. The sexuality that our kids are immersed in, they're immersed in something, they're being sold emptiness, just like in every other capacity of their lives, in terms of wealth and consumerism and materialism and the winning that lottery. And, our kids are being formed in terms of our secular society to have these empty dreams. And that has permeated their sexual identity. And so their loneliness, their search for love, oh my God, they want to be loved so much. You know, they're going to try to find it in the wrong places. You know, when I first started teaching, at grade 7, my first year, I had a student that potentially thought she was pregnant. A student at that age is not, you know, using their sexuality in a way that is healthy. So let's talk about, you know, what the church teaches in terms of our teachings about sexuality. And you do this in greater detail in part 3, but I'm just going to use this as an example just to help you guys understand the church's teachings and then help you root your own sort of maybe particular issues, okay? So the church teaches us that, you know, we have to make these decisions about our sexuality in a way that's going to be life-giving. This is why what is reflective of the church's teachings. So if you are 13 or 16, or you're not going to fall into where the church teaches about healthy sexuality. The church put, you know, our teachings of sexuality sort of in the context of marriage. Why? Because traditionally people got married. Traditionally people got married at an age where, you know, was early, you know, in life. A lot of people got married in their late teens, early 20s, looking back 30 years ago, even 30, 40 years ago. Take it even further back. I always love the story of Mary. I always use this and kind of shock people. But, you know, looking at the story of Mary who was carrying Jesus, she was a young teenager, like in our terms, right? Adolescence is a fairly new development in terms of human life, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But Mary at that time, oops, my time's almost up, so I got to wrap this up. But Mary was single because she was, you know, she wasn't married to Joseph yet when she became pregnant with Jesus, and she was typically a teenager, what we would deem a teenager in our day and age, and going through this difficult time in her life. You know, Joseph almost, you know, cast her aside, and that had really detrimental effects on a young girl that day. She could be stoned to death, right? So I always find it interesting that the birth of Jesus transpires through this story that is so common to us today. And that's why scripture is so relevant. I'm going to pick this up in the next post. I'm going to continue talking about this. And hopefully this will help you kind of make sense out of this and help you understand so you can teach your kids a healthy perspective in terms of the church and sexuality and morals and ethics.